Good afternoon, everyone. 4:15 on a Monday edition of On Cue, as we are powered by our wonderful friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee, Three Brooks Bourbon. Get ready with tea. And of course, played again sports on this the 10th of November. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones. Get in on the conversation, get social with us. We are all over the place on YouTube, on X, on Facebook, on SR102, Spotify, Apple, wherever you guys get your audio pod, you can get us as well. Also on the YouTube channel at Rich Q on Q. As I mentioned on this Monday edition of On Q, as we like to label it, a Lunes Manolo Mentiroso Man Up Monday edition of On Q. And well, typically you have days like this, and you have the luxury of being on the air when sports stories break, when sports news breaks. And obviously, if you listen to me over the past several years, I've been of the belief for, I would say, about 2 to 3 years now, that the New York Giants are not a good franchise. The New York Giants have been run poorly. The New York Giants don't have the leadership at the helm. The New York Giants really have swung and missed when it has come to head coaches, when it has come to GMs over the last several years. And I also told you, going into a lame duck season, I don't know why in the world that you would keep a GM who's had major misses and a couple hits, and a head coach that, again, looks absolutely at times lost, absolutely at times just did not have a pulse, a heartbeat when it came to coaching the New York Football Giants. And once again, on a Sunday afternoon, the Giants found another way to lose a football game, and this time, the mercy killing, it had to be done. As they announced earlier today that head coach Brian Daboll has been relieved of his duties. I'll get to the official statement. I've said this ad nauseum, week after week after week. I don't know how in the hell this man had a job after last year. I don't know how the hell this man had a job going into the offseason. I have no friggin' idea how you have Joe Schoen, the GM, who, oh, by the way, the brass already told you today, will remain as GM of the Giants. But you have him and Brian Daboll coming into a season as lame ducks, which we always know ever, ever, ever works out in the NFL, period. I don't know how in the world this man still had a job when they blew, again, one of the worst losses in franchise history, one of the worst losses mathematically you can ever think of against the Denver Broncos. I don't know how in the world this man had a job when they no-showed against the Philadelphia Eagles. And then yesterday, where you just knew the handwriting was on the wall. And again, they played well. They played well. They took the early lead. Jackson Dart was making plays, the franchise quarterback. Then all of a sudden, the read option, the kid gets banged up, fumbles. He gets knocked out. You knew he was friggin' concussed. That turned the whole tide of the game, a game in which, once again, the defense, I'll get to the defensive coordinator in a second, the defense failed once again late, and the Giants lose it 24-10 on the road to fall to 2-8. Oh, by the way, 0-6 on the road. Now, yesterday's game is almost an afterthought to what transpired earlier today. But this shows you how you fire this man after what transpired on Sunday, because you realize you're at your wit's end. You realize you're at your wit's end. You're basically a dead man walking. A dead man walking. That's what you are. It's if you ever watched the movie The Green Mile, he knew. He knew it was only a matter of time. But yet he hung in there and took it like a man. He took it like a man. He knew. He made peace with it. Brian Daboll just never can make peace with it. and you would listen to him after every single solitary press conference, he would not have any answers. And yesterday was the first time in a long time, maybe the first, that you look at a man, a grown man, that absolutely looked beaten. He looked defeated. He looked beaten. He wanted no parts of it anymore. And the players basically have pretty much let you know they don't want any parts of it. But this is kind of like the coup de grace. Coup de grace. If you're a Giant fan yesterday, watching this game, thinking once again, you got an opportunity to win a football game. You have an opportunity to win a football game. So the Giants fumble, and you think the turn of the tide, here we go. But they're still up. They're still up. That's the thing. They're up 17-7. They hold the Bears to a field goal to make it 17-10. Here's the play in the fourth quarter, a microcosm of Brian Daboll's career as an NFL head coach with my Giants. The Giants with Russell Wilson, who is absolutely friggin' shot. He is absolutely beyond cooked, not even marinating, he's not even overdone. He's done. He can't quarterback anymore in the NFL. 45-yarder, 41 came on a screen to Singletary. The Giants take the ball all the way down, deep into Chicago Bears territory. Now, you've got an opportunity for the knockout punch because your defense has played well. You're waiting for that Brian Daboll of a couple years ago on the road, go for 2 against Tennessee. Let's do it. Here we go. Let's set the tone, change the culture around. And you get a penalty on a 1-yard run that basically spots the ball half the distance of the goal line. And what does Brian Daboll do? He turns around like the gutless friggin' clown he is and decides, let's kick the field goal and take the points. Now, first reaction, you say, yeah, go up 10, and maybe your defense can play a little bit. Or you think to yourself, you know what? Here's an opportunity, man. Your offense stinks with Russell Wilson. Try to punch it in. It's 1 yard. It's just a battle of wills. You're in the trenches. Do it. Go up 24-10. Win a game on the road. Snap an 11-game slide on the road. Feel good about something. You're still going to get fired, but you know what? At least go and die with your boots on. And what does he do? He cowers, and they take the friggin' field goal. And of course, late in the game, they lose it again. And I don't want to hear the nonsense. I'm telling you, I've said this for years now. When everyone chimes in, I'm going to get to the comments, what's wrong with the Giant franchise? What's been the issue with the Giant franchise? How come the Giants are now the laughing stock in the NFL? Which absolutely pains me. Because if you cut me open, blue comes out. It pains me. The Giants lost their way the day they forced Coughlin out the door. That's the day the franchise changed. That's the day all credibility was shot to shit with the Giants. They fired Coughlin. They hired McAdoo. Their record since has been 53-104-1, which is second worst in the NFL. So you go from McAdoo and his stitched up suits and his Denny-sized friggin' play chart of a menu on the sidelines. You go to that friggin' clown who the players never respected, to Shermer. And this friggin' jerk Shermer decides, let's bench Eli for Geno Smith. He doesn't last. And then you go from him to the bully and Joe Judge that had his head up his ass, to Brian Daboll that gave you a glimmer of hope the first year, head coach of the year. You won a friggin' playoff game. Worst thing to happen in his franchise. Worst thing to happen. So again, I go out, and I know you guys are going to get on me right now, and I don't care. I don't care, because it's raw. And like I said, it's about 4 or 5 hours, still fresh. But you cannot tell me, go out and get a first time. I don't want a first time head coach if I'm a Giants fan. I don't. And I don't give a shit if I got to retread with the hoodie, with McCarthy. I don't care. If you want to throw Gruden's name out there, whatever. You want to look at a guy like Flores, who's a stout coordinator, but I'm saying a guy that's never even, and again, I don't want to contradict myself, but you know what I'm saying. I'm just so tired. I want right now, you have a franchise quarterback, period. Period. You have a franchise quarterback in Jackson Dart, and you got to protect this kid, and you got to build around this kid, and you have talent. The problem is you're a losing culture. You can't win football games. That's the problem with the Giants. That's the problem. It's as clear as day. It's as clear as day. They cannot win football games. Their culture is not even a culture. It's a joke. It's a laughing stock. They're not, this franchise, it's not a serious franchise. And like I said, it pains me. It pains me. And look, I'm sure Brian Daboll's a nice guy. I'm sure he is. I'm sure he's a nice guy. But you cannot, under any circumstances, allow that man to keep coaching his team. You're going to send him out there Sunday at home, 1 o'clock, with a crowd that's going to be 85 to 90% Green Bay Packers, and you think you're going to throw Russell Wilson out there? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I'm telling you again, stop looking. We always want to look at the quarterback over the last several years. Look at Grable right now. He's 8-2. The Titans are 1-8. Sam Darnold 7-2. The Jets are 2-7. Daniel Jones 8-2. The Giants are 2-8. Is it possible we always look to the wrong freaking guy? Is it? Is it possible? And at this point, I just give me a proven guy that can win. Give me a proven guy, whether it's Sentiment with the hoodie, whether it's McCarthy. I don't care. He's going to win you 11, 12 games. This is a team that freaking was leading the Dallas Cowboys 37-34 with 14 seconds left and they lost. They were leading the Saints on the road 14-3 midway through the second quarter and they lost. They were leading the Denver Broncos. I still to this day, you're up 26-8 with under 5 minutes to go in the fourth and you lost a game. You're up 20-10 with under 4 minutes to go against the Bears, and you lost that game. Those are 4 wins, at least three of those wins, at least 3, absolutely, at least 3. And again, you're looking at this and you're saying to yourself, it could be so different. It could be so different. If you just closed the deal, they're a losing franchise. They don't know how to win. And when you don't know how to win, heads have to roll. How does this GM still have a job is beyond me. It's just beyond me. And you listen to what Tish said and you listen to what Mara said. And this is what happens when teams fire head coaches. And it's like an overhaul and the fan base starts to shudder a little bit. And you listen to the statements that have come out, from the brass, Mara, and Tish. And it's almost as though I feel as like it's a contradiction. Like it's a contradiction if you really think about it. You like what Joe Schoen has done, but you're not happy with the results. Don't they go hand in hand? Or is it me? Am I missing something here? All these franchises that have got turned upside down over the last 15, 20 years, it's almost like everything's common. And the funny thing is they played the team yesterday in Chicago that fired their head coach, but kept their GM, brought in the right head coach, and now look at them. They're a 6-3 football team. The worst thing is, again, I don't mind losing as a fan. I don't. Losing sucks. You shouldn't tolerate it. But it's, sometimes you lose games. You can be competitive and you have heartbreaking games. And it's not fun. Nobody wants to watch their team lose football games consistently. But I don't mind losing. It's not a losing mentality. And when I say I don't mind losing, I don't mind if you go out there 60 minutes and you're just not good enough. But if you compete, if you show heart, if you show improvement, if you show a little resolve, and more times than not, this team never did that over the last 4, 5, 6, 7 years. They haven't. I mean, I remember games with Shermer where they played the Rams and had a 3rd and 31 and the Rams converted a 40-something yard touchdown. I remember taking a knee with Daniel Jones against Washington. I remember not letting Tommy Cutlets throw the football. not wrapping up guys. They couldn't wrap up Caleb Williams yesterday. They can't make plays. They lose on field goals. They get field goals blocked, special teams blunders, can't wrap up the quarterback. Like, if life was in football, what ifs, or so close, then this team would win the Super Bowl every year. With, so close to a quarterback hit. So close to wrapping up. So close to a quarterback tackle or a sack. It's bad. It is bad. 2-8. And then you guys laugh at me when I get annoyed and say, I'm going to go fish. Well, now it's different because I'm doing the overnights, but still, third straight year, 2-8, 11-33 since the start of 2023. How did this man even have a job after last season is beyond me. It was beyond me. 336 winning percentage. And then you're going to friggin' get fired. You're going to get fired yesterday. Have the balls to go for it. My God, have the balls to go for it on fourth down. No. And what does he do? He plays it safe because that's who he is. You got a franchise quarterback you can't protect. A franchise quarterback you cannot protect. And they have talent. That's the worst thing. They have talent. And I know I'm going to get crushed for saying this, but Jackson Dart has taken 77 hits and 7 starts. And part of me thinks this man was basically trying to sacrifice this franchise quarterback to save his ass. And for that, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Get the hell out. Get out. Get out, because you're a losing coach. You're a losing head coach, period. Period. It's horrible when franchises forget how to win, man. Forget how to win, man. So they should have never have brought him back and Joe Schoen. I said it ad nauseum. They should have, now you got to look at a head coach. And I think Jackson Dart can thrive in any head coach. I do. This kid has it. But you need a head coach that understands we have a franchise quarterback and I have to build around this franchise quarterback. I cannot put him in harm's way. And some of it Jackson Dart's fault, no doubt. But again, the GM who decides I'm going to draft Neal, I'm going to draft Hyatt. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? I'm paying Slayton. I'm paying Singletary. What are you doing? And you still have a job. Horrible. And you blew another game yesterday. It's so bad. And I'll be the first on a Monday to man up on a Local Day Radio, Lunas, Mentioso, Manolo Man Up Monday, because my picks, what the hell was I thinking over the weekend? I mean, James Cook, can you get me 83 yards? Buffalo, can you friggin' show up? Now, we hit the Ravens, yes. The Browns, Jets, we love the under, hit the over. Told you New England was going to be sneaky. Seattle looked really good. What was I at the 49ers? Come on. What are we doing here? Steelers are a fraud. I think I was 2-3 with my picks. Embarrassing. It's bad. It's so bad. It's November 10th. And if they tried out Russell Wilson, I mean, this man can't play anymore. He just can't play. My biggest takeaways from the weekend in the NFL, I feel like I say this every single solitary weekend. You got 3 or 4 good teams. Everyone else stinks. You got 3 or 4 teams, and then you got the middle of the pack. I mean, Buffalo, you go down to Miami, you can't do diddly yesterday. Seattle was up, what were they up, 30? The 4 o'clock games were horrendous. They were not even competitive. The 49ers got smacked around. They were down 21-7 at the half. The Lions were up 24-10 at the half. Friggin' Seattle just scored again. They were up 38-7 at the half. Then you get the Jacksonville, which is a friggin' fraud, blowing a 19-point lead to Steelers, which are the biggest friggin' frauds out there. Mike Tomlin basically a little subtle shot at Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers looked cooked last night, did he not? He looked horrible last night. You got 4 or 5 really good teams, and that's it. All right, let me open up, see what you guys have to say on this Monday. Before the late breaking news, I was going to ask you if you would rather have Dan Quinn as your Giants head coach. At this point, anyone. I'll take you. I'll take you. At this point, anyone. This man could not coach anymore. He can't. Broncos country. Let's ride. All right. Go get him. I'm trying to. I'm trying to. See what my man Chino thinks. Giants are a straight clown show. They are. They are bad. You would love it if the hoodie returned. I wouldn't say that I would love it, and I know it's a pipe dream, but the reality is, like you guys believe, perhaps he's past his time. Here's the problem with the hoodie, or the John Gruden's, or the Mike McCarthy. Right? Are they really guys at this point? Now, when I say you have coaches that have shown me they can win before, yeah, they have. They have. And I'm not going to read into Gruden doing a video with Jackson Dart and how he's enamored with Jackson Dart. I don't know if the Giants want that PR hit. I know it's so early to sit there and say, okay, here we go. But I don't want a first-time head coach. I don't. I really don't. I don't want Mike Kafka as offensive coordinator. I sure as hell don't want Shane Bowen. Maybe there was something to be said with Martindale and how him and Daboll did not get along. When you have a head coach, here's the difference. Here's the difference between teams that compete and win in the NFL and teams that try to compete but they'll never win. The difference is you look around the NFL, and I'm even going to give you some of these marginal teams at best. At best, some of these marginal teams. Even the marginal ones that are the 5s and 4s, the 4s and 5, these teams, they've shown me they're at least trying to play to win. And what happens with a team like the Giants, they play to not lose. And they play scared. Everyone and their mother knew exactly what was going to happen after that fumble yesterday. You knew the Bears were going to win the football game. The Giants play scared. They don't. Teams, when there's a 4-minute offense out there, the Patriots, Seattle, the Rams, yeah, even the 49ers when they're healthy and they're good, the Lions, the Philadelphia Eagles, Kansas City, Buffalo, the Ravens when they're healthy, they know how to put teams away. They know how to put teams away. I'm talking about at the precipice when these teams lock, stock, and barrel. Here we go. They're winning their 10, 11, 12, 13 games a season. You never panic. They never panic. And they're up 7, they're up 10, they're up 17. They know how to run a 4-minute offense. They don't go into this shell. That's because of the coaching. The Giants don't have that. That's the problem. They have talent. They do have some talent in key spots. But the way their coach is or their coaches have been, it's always as though, let's just see if we can hold on for dear life. You can't coach that way in the NFL. You can't play that way in the NFL. You can't. You just can't. You're not going to win a lot of football games if you do that. Period. Period. It's just not going to happen. All I know is this, the next head coach, they better get it right. Period. They better get it right, or the franchise is going to be set back for another 10 years, which is now going to be 20 of just horrible football. And, the glory years of winning Super Bowls and making the playoffs and Lombardi trophies. You've turned into now one of the worst franchises in North American sports. And you're talking about the Giants. You're talking about a quarterback that's got over 1,000 passing yards, 300 rushing yards, 15 total touchdowns. He's got the look, he's got the charm, he's got the swag, he's got the charisma, he's got the arm, he's got the gumption. Build around this friggin' kid and let's go. Build around this kid. Bring in the right guy or guys and coaching staff. I can see it everywhere else. Ben Johnson, here we go. Let's get rid of Eberflus. Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams playing. Mayo, get rid of Mayo. Mike Grable, Drake May, MVP candidate. Here you go. I'm telling you, it's to the point right now where you cannot miss. You can't. Belichick, the only answer. It's sentiment. It's sentiment. You're gonna get connections for the next 5 months. But all I'm saying is this: I don't understand how you can have an ownership group come out and turn around and basically say, okay, we're not happy with the results, but we're going to bring back the GM because we believe we can build. He knows how to build. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but how does that even make sense? It just doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. Period. Lane Kiffin would be great at the Giants, but he's not leaving college. And SEC lifestyle keeps him in South, maybe the Dolphins. Q with the beard, getting a little whiter. The gray is filling in. Hey, go scratch. Take it somewhere else, will you? You know what? Don't even worry about that, Joey. Joey, but hold on a second. What do we got there? Joey by the real ad? No, it's aging like a fine wine. I got to trim it up. Friggin' prick. There you go. Ever notice Q has salt in the beard and not up top? What is Q's? Great. What are we talking about? I mean, you guys? My head coach just got canned. My franchise just lost another game. And you guys are focused on the beard. And listen, this I don't know what to tell you. I don't age. It's reverse. It's like the what was the movie? Uh, Incredible Q buttons. You keep it up, Luca Brazzi, and we will have a spite pick in there. Period. We will fire off a spite pick. As far as the rest of the NFL, probably won't be hearing from New Phone Who Dis today. Holy smokes. How about Jacksonville spitting a bit? I'm waiting for Gas Pump Guy to give me the Baker Mayfield for MVP. New England wins it by 5 yesterday, 28-23. So a couple games stood out. We'll go around the league as we always do. Get your thoughts. Kevin C. and Jackson chimes in. Q, I know you don't want to hear this. It sounds like you're kind of happy and giddy that Brian Daboll just got canned. I understand it. We've been clamoring and screaming for Daboll to get fired for 2 years now, but I'm actually comfortable with Joe Schoen. Well, you're goofy. You're goofy. You're goofy. You're goofy. You're goofy. That's it. Seriously. I mean, that's utterly ridiculous. For you to even for you to even suggest that you want Joe Schoen and the other Joey B. I apologize for that. That you want to sit there and you're going to friggin' tell me Joe Schoen has done a good job. Are you out of your friggin' mind, Kevin? I mean, you should know better. Texting in every day, sitting out not Joey. Joe Schoen's got to go. Or direct mailing me or hitting me up on Facebook or on X, sitting there saying, they drafted Hyatt. He's a speedster. Really? What's he done? Evan Neal, what's he done? Gave money to Singletary, gave money to Slayton, who actually finally woke up and caught some balls yesterday. Geez, come on, Kevin. Wake up. Absolutely embarrassing to think that Joe Schoen. Come on. Why is my name appearing as my email, not Joey B? I don't know. But you know what? I'm glad because now you've been exposed. Now we know who your email is. Because I'm telling you right now, if you would have came up with some like Joey B in the community, or what's that place in Florida you guys like to bring up? Joey B in the comments, or Joey B in the village, then we would have a problem. So now we know. Let me ask you something. Are you at CompuServe? Are you at MSN? Are you at Gmail? Are you a Hotmail? Which one is it? Sarge chimes in. Q, my Steelers spit the bit last night. I mean, that's not even. Come on. Can we start with the Pittsburgh Steelers? But Baltimore Ravens are winning the AFC North. I got news for you. Let me just break it down right now. Baltimore Ravens are winning the AFC North. I mean, the Steelers yesterday. I'm watching that game last night, half friggin' asleep. You got the Dodgers over the Pirates 3-2 early. Aaron Rodgers looks shot. He looks like a shot fighter. Couldn't move around, took some sacks, had bad picks. I mean, that team is done. By the way, when they miss the playoffs, then you're going to get the Tomlin. You're going to get the Tomlin chatters. There you go. See, that's what we're talking about. Joey B in the villages. You better cover your tracks, right? You better cover your tracks. Can we talk college ball? Chumbo out after getting injured in practice, devastating. Caleb Wilson is the truth. We're going to get into a little college ball, yeah, no doubt. Did you watch the games over the weekend? And the only reason I bring it up is because, we talked a little bit about that Heisman on Friday. I'll give you some updated odds. I definitely, though, we got to go through the NFL. I have no idea what the hell happened with Buffalo yesterday. Obviously, Broncos started it off. They got another win late over the Raiders, 10-7 Thursday Night Football. I mentioned this on Friday's show, and some of you guys went at me. I said, talk to me. Again, talk to me when we start to see Daniel Jones reverting back to some bad habits. Now he threw for 265. He got sacked 7 times, a fumble, a bad pick. Jonathan Taylor, if Jonathan Taylor or Matthew Stafford, I believe right now is the MVP, but Jonathan Taylor's right there. He had 244 yesterday, plus the winner in overtime. Sorry, John Bueller. I know he's a Falcons fan. So the Colts got the win. They go to 8-2. We already told you, obviously, with the Bears over the Giants. The Bills did not even show up. I mean, I'm sitting there on Friday, sitting there telling you guys, take the Bills, take the points, money line. Here you go. They're going to wax Miami. Did not show up at all. That is a bad loss for the Buffalo Bills. And now all of a sudden the Bills are looking up because New England got a win. Great story. Patriots, just unbelievable. Playing really good football. They went on the road, mind you. You got a young quarterback that's making friggin' plays. They're the hottest team in the NFL right now. Drake May, you can make the case that he's the MVP. And by the way, I don't want to hear this. They're not a top legit squad. Yeah, they are. They are. The New England Patriots are legit. They are legit. Now, have they arrived a little early like Washington? Perhaps. Am I going to sit there and coordinate and christen them and say they're the team to beat in the AFC? Not yet, but I'm telling you this. They look damn good, and you can't fault who's on your schedule. But they beat the Bills, and they beat the friggin' Bucks. So I'm just saying, we're talking about perennial playoff teams. They got the Jets coming up, Cincinnati. They're winning 10 games. They're going to win 11, 12 games. Pat's playing wonderful, wonderful football right now. Absolutely wonderful football right now. Mike in Ohio says, Q, are we done with the Gabriel conversation? I don't think you are. I don't think you are. Stefanski already came out and said that Gabriel's going to start again. So your guess is as good as mine. What the hell's going on in Cleveland? I mean, you want to talk about the rarest of rares in a football game? I think it was the first time ever in Jet franchise history, 2 consecutive plays. You got a touchdown on a kickoff and then a punt, and then they hold on to beat the Browns 27-20, and in a game where the quarterback throws for just 42 yards. Justin Fields, who stinks. He can't play. He can't play. But the Browns, they're going to be looking for a quarterback. And Stefanski basically said, we're sticking with Gabriel. So I don't know what that means for Sanders. I mean, it's getting late pretty early right now for Sanders getting these reps in. Yes, we will get into the Eagles and Packers. Joe D, Tom and Summers Point, just friggin' relax. That game's tonight. It's not for another 3 hours, all right? We're going through the league right now on a Monday. Come on, you guys know the drill. Horrible loss by Jacksonville yesterday. Horrible, 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 horrible loss. I mean, you're up 19 and you can't close the friggin' deal. That's embarrassing. Seattle all over Arizona. I'm half asleep, but I'm watching, or I'm trying to watch this Rams and this 49ers game yesterday. And the Rams, boom, 21-0. I mean, you don't smack the 49ers around like that. Stafford is playing at such a high level. He has to. He has to be the MVP of the NFL right now. You can say that Taylor's right there, but the quarterbacking position, is there another quarterback right now in the NFL playing the position better than Matthew Stafford? He's thrown for over 2,500 yards. He's got 26 touchdowns and 2 picks. The Rams can go on the road and they can win a lot of games, just like Seattle. Just like Seattle. Seattle, every time I watch this team, I get more impressed. I really do. I mean, they could have put up 60. They had a couple of Sling and Sammy Darnold blunders. They could have put up 60 yesterday against the Cardinals. I mean, Darnold didn't do anything. He had the pick, he had the fumble. I think they ran the ball for like 200 yards. And a couple plays, Jacoby Brissett, couple fourth down, he decides not to scamper. Maybe Murray takes it in, doesn't change the outcome of the game. But Brissett's going to be the quarterback going forward. The Cardinals are sliding backwards. They're 3-6. That's a bad football team. You got those 4 o'clock games are not competitive. I don't even know how it's going to play out tonight. Part of me starts to think the Eagles on the road. They take care of business against Green Bay. Yeah, I get a little pissed off over the next 45 minutes. The fight pick might come out. Yeah, it might. The Ravens got to win. They're 4-6. They're going to get back to 500. They're going to win the AFC North. I'm telling you that right now. And then my Panthers show me they're a big fraud. So yesterday was definitely the day where you start to separate teams, period. You really start to separate some of these teams. Taylor's balling out. Yes. Shador time or Steph gets fired. They're not going to fire Stefanski in season. They're not. I do not see them doing that. I don't. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if you look at the Ravens game, they were not competitive. The Lions game, they weren't competitive. The Vikings, they were competitive. The Steelers game was a little fluky. They beat the Dolphins. They hung in there against the Patriots. They pulled away. And then you had special teams blunders. Now, I think they went through their bye already. So I think if they would have done it, they would have already done it. They've got the Ravens coming up. They're going to lose that game. They go on the road. They might beat the Raiders. They still have the Titans left. Cincinnati, who knows what's going to go on with Burrow. They're 2-7. They're a bad football team. I think they play it out with Stefanski. Unless you're saying that his reluctance to start Shador Sanders should justify him being fired, that's a different argument. That's a different conversation that you have to have with the Browns. Because your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea what their thinking is. It's been an absolute train wreck. If you ask me personally, I think right now there has to be something going on in that locker room. Okay. Why Shador Sanders is not getting any reps. I mean, you don't even have to think the kid's good. You don't even have to like the kid personally, but it's just it's at a point right now where it makes 0 sense. It makes no sense. Like Dylan Gabriel can't play. He is not an NFL starting quarterback. So you're talking about one of the worst teams in the NFL. Right now, they have the number 4 overall pick. They don't have a clear-cut answer at the quarterback position. Dylan Gabriel is not the future. He was. I don't care if the kid threw for 2 touchdowns. He's not. So why don't you see what you have in Shador? This kid doesn't have mobility. He was sacked 6 or 7 times. He's not good. You got 8 games left in the season. You have no chance of making the playoffs at all. Why don't you give the kid a shot? And it's Stefanski or it's coming from above. They don't have any intention or interest in giving Shador Sanders reps. I mean, even a blind person can see this. It's maddening. It's absolutely maddening right now. I mean, you're doing it to spite the kid, to screw the kid. At this point, it's just a dick move. I'm sorry, it is. It really is. It really is just it's being a prick. It is. It really is. Like, give the kid a shot. Seriously. Just give him a shot. The GM is probably going to last. He's probably going to last. But this head coach, no. I believe he's going after the season. But it's just, come on. Enough already. Enough. Enough. It's maddening. It really is. Like, You're either, if you're the coach, then you make the decision. If you're not the coach and decisions are making above you, then fire the coach, is my point. If Barry or ownership is like, don't start the kid, then get rid of the coach. Because what's the point of having the coach? Or if the coach is so reluctant to want to start this kid for fear of backlash from the ownership group and or the GM, then that's on the head coach and he's got no balls. At least, man up a little bit, will you? Man up. Barry's done some nice things with that Cleveland roster, but he's also done some bad things. You took a very aggressive swing and miss with Deshaun Watson, right? Now, that backfired, okay? His free agency moves, just like Joe Schoen, hit or miss. Hit or miss. But don't you want to see what you have right now with this kid and give the fan base a little hope? Something? Like your past wins and losses right now. You're past it. And for some reason, this head coach is just adamant keeping to go to the well. D chimes in. Oh, on Daboll, yeah. Buffalo. I'm not gonna say Buffalo stinks. I'm gonna say Buffalo stubbed their toe. I think Buffalo's got some issues. We know they got issues when it comes to stopping the run. I'm not gonna say they stink. I'm just gonna say a little bit of an aberration. That's all. Fast approaching 5 o'clock. Got a lot of comments coming in. I want to get to them. Lloyd Van's going to join me about 15. Keep it locked in. Quick timeout. Want to remind everyone we are powered by our good friends over at Three Brooks Bourbon. Get ready with tea. Fresh roasted coffee, 20% off your first purchase. And of course, our good friends over at Play It Again Sports. 5 o'clock straight up on the East Coast. Quick timeout. It's a Monday edition of On Cue. All right, 5 o'clock straight up. We'll get back to the comments. What do we got here? Joey chimes in. Shador to Miami, Shador to Vegas, Shador to Houston is a real backup. We don't know if the kid's a backup or a starting quarterback, right? We don't know. I told you that game would be over when the coin landed. What are we talking about? Buffalo? I don't know what game we're talking about. We don't know. You guys crushed me when I said the Jets should trade for Shador. You guys were like, oh, you must be trolling. If the kid can play, then I think we'll know if he can play. We'll know. That's why you throw him out there. It's the same argument I made when the Giants drafted Dart. I told you he was going to play sooner rather than later. He was going to play when they solidified the offensive line, when Andrew Thomas came back, and now I was off a game. And he got the start at home, and they beat the Chargers, who were undefeated at the time. So sometimes you have to do it sooner rather than later. And at this point, what difference does it make? What difference does it make? Seattle scary, gets better season. I'm telling you right now, Seattle is a legit Super Bowl contender. And you can give me all the crap you want about Sam Darnold. Their defense is unbelievable. They can get to the quarterback, and he's got weapons, 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 and they are a very well coached team. Seattle can go on the road and beat the Eagles. They can beat the Rams. They can beat the Packers. And if you got to go to Seattle, very tough spot. I told you guys, do not sleep on Seattle. We've seen this Sam Darnold thing before. I mean, again, he can't go out there and throw for 355 every game. I mean, Daniel Jones had the deer in the headlights look yesterday, and then when he had to, made a couple plays. You guys are looking at Darnold, and you guys want to put him under this microscope because of what happened last year, Sunday Night Football. You have an opportunity to get home field advantage. He spit the bit, and then the playoff loss. I get it. I understand. But can we move past it, or are we still I'll believe it when I see it? I'll believe it when I see it, because we had those same conversations about Jared Goff. We had those same conversations about Baker Mayfield, and you guys were having the same conversation about Geno Smith last year. And they all made believers out of everyone. Geno's not having a good year, though. He's not. He's not. Thank you. Man up, thank you for your dismissal of Sammy the Slinger. It's actually Singing Sammy Darnold, but that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. What's just my Panthers take by Q? Oh, well, I mean, listen, I had him as a playoff team. It's funny. I'm not. I was going to, because I don't want to dance. I don't want to tap dance on someone's grave. I don't like doing that. I was going to wear the Giants hoodie today. And I thought it just would have been a classless gesture. I'm not celebrating the fact that Brian Daboll got fired. I'm celebrating the fact that the Giants brass finally woke up and they made a change. It had nothing to do with the man itself, who I believe still can't coach. He could be a great guy. Could be a nice guy. It's not Carolina Blue. It's not. And I'm already rankled because St. John's lost to Alabama over the weekend. Did you watch the Commanders game? Did you notice when Trump came in the booth, Vilma 6-7 drunk? Dad POTUS doing a little play-by-play? Huh? It's a good football team. It's a real good football team. I'm very hopeful. Seattle has one issue: inconsistent run game. I think, to your point, I'll counter that. They're all about the field position, and they do it with their defense. Yeah, eventually there's going to be a game where maybe Darnold's under duress, and they're going to have to figure out a way to run the football. Agree with you in that regard. You certainly don't want to go in the playoffs averaging around 3.6, 3.7 a carry. But I think, I think they are a pass-first team, to be quite honest with you. I really do. I think they're a pass-first team with Darnold, and they set up the screens they're a very good screen team, really good screen team. I like Seattle. I do. I think Seattle and the Rams right now, I would say, are the two best teams in the NFC. Not, Eagles notwithstanding, because I don't want to hear from the Eagles fans on a Monday chirping and just getting, they're quiet because they didn't play over the weekend. They got the game on Monday night. Matty Green chimes in. I'm a diehard Jets fan. I'm watching the game the other day. Did you see your man Sauce get toasted? Because he stinks. Sauce Gardner, I told you guys this. He stinks. He's overrated. Who was the wide receiver? Was it London? Basically made him drop his drawers. Gardner stinks. He's overrated. He had one good year, his rookie season. Same stuff with Jamal Adams. And you guys were just clamoring. Mel chimes in, I'm a diehard Rams fan. I agree. I think Stafford's playing lights out. I think this is the best he's ever played in his career. But Taylor is definitely going to take some votes away. Right now, I believe that Matthew Stafford is the NFL MVP. I do. Now, can that change? Sure, because when we're talking about the quarterbacking position, it's pretty much kind of week to week, right? Adam chimes in, Q, what in the hell in the world? Why is Mike Kafka still going to be the Giants play caller and now interim head coach? It doesn't matter. It does not matter at this point, guys. Seriously. Seriously, it doesn't matter. My man Angel in Miami chimes in. Q, my Dolphins got a big win. Did you see that they fired some player personnel? That actually came down about 20 minutes ago. So you had your co-director of player personnel, Adam Ingroff, and Anthony Hunt. They were fired. Miami's going to make wholesale changes. Now, I had this conversation. If McDaniel gets fired, I'm not bringing him in as a head coach. Do I consider him an offensive coordinator? Do I look at a Brian Flores as a defensive coordinator? You gotta start moving. This is why you had to make this move, I think, after the Denver game. After the Denver game, you have to get a jump on where you want to go. You have to get a jump on a head coaching. And I don't, for the life of me, I just don't understand why they waited. I just don't. What is that? Dan in Akron? On my ex chiming in. Q, catching the show, enjoying it. I know you mentioned the Cleveland Browns up here in Cleveland land. We're all about the dog pound. Local radio is absolutely killing Stefanski. They think he should be fired. I agree. What's the reason behind it, right? So the Bears retained Poles. They got rid of Eberflus. The Giants, it seems they're retaining Joe Schoen. They got rid of Brian Daboll. Is it possible the Browns will retain Berry and then Stefanski's the odd man out? Now, in a rebuilding year, it doesn't always make sense to fire both the head coach and GM. That's one of the reasons that now, I'm not a fan of Joe Schoen. I think he should be fired. But if I had to give you a counter argument, like if I had to play devil's advocate for everyone saying you have to, if you fire one, you fire the other, I'm going to tell you why. Because when you're in a rebuild, Cleveland's in a rebuild. The Bears were in the midst of a rebuild. The Jets are in a rebuild. The Giants are in a rebuild. The Titans are in a rebuild, right? The Saints are in a rebuild. Bad football teams. Bad football teams. You do want a level of continuity and consistency. So in a rebuilding year, does it always make sense to fire the head coach and the GM? Because if you fire the GM, well, most likely you're firing the head coach. But if you fire both, you don't have a GM, it essentially makes it harder for you to rebuild, if that makes sense. Like if you want to clean house, the Giants should have done it last year. If the Browns wanted to clean house, they should have done it last year. Look what the Jets did. Middle of the season, get rid of everyone. Start fresh. Bring in a new GM, bring in a first-time head coach in Aaron Glenn. Now, I still don't think he makes 2 years, but the GM decided we're going to be aggressive. We're trading players. We're getting draft capital. So now you got to build towards that. And now they won 2 games in a row. Coincidence? I don't think so. But point being is you have to be real careful when you start to get in this conversation of get rid of the GM, get rid of the head coach, especially if you're trying to rebuild. It's harder to do it that way. That's it. I'm not dealing anymore with these Commanders comments from Eagles fans because now I'm starting to get to the point where I absolutely hope the Eagles get friggin' smoked tonight because I'm just so tired of it. It's like the trolling of the Commanders. The Commanders stink. They stink. Their franchise quarterback went down. They overachieved last year. They went to the NFC Championship. What do you guys want? You want me to draw blood? Is that what you want? I had St. John's losing. The Knicks are struggling, and the Giants finally woke up after they blew another lead. But that's not good enough for you guys. It's not good enough. Like, why are you so concerned with the Commanders and going on with DC? Go listen to B. Mitch down on the radio. I don't give a shit about the Commanders. They're done. They're done. People are just absolutely trolling me with that crap. Unbelievable. No, it's okay. You can smile. Go ahead. No, you can laugh. Go ahead. No, smile. Go ahead.
I love it. He's gassed up, everybody.
What's going on? Our good friend Lloyd Vance, host of Lloyd Vance's Insider Football. Boy, listen, we know you're going to be on later tonight. You got the Eagles in the pack, ho hum. But obviously, the news of the day: Giants parting ways with Brian Daboll. Listen, it had to be done. You and I have been talking about it for weeks now. I don't like the idea that they go into a season, this season, and they don't give the GM and the head coach a contract extension. To me, that was the first clear indication that if they don't win some football games, one or both are going to be out of a job. And it just so happens that Daboll's out of a job after another blown loss, mind you. To me, Lloyd, it was a mercy killing. It had to be done.
Yeah, it got to be very ugly. And after that loss yesterday, where they leave Jackson Dart out there, he's running around, he takes that big hit, and that was when the texts start flying from you. It's like that's it. And I agree with you. Enough's enough. The team's mired in a 4-game losing streak, and all these games they were in, they had a chance to win them, and it just showed the adjustments were not being done. I think he kind of lost a roster and the locker room, to be honest with you. So and we knew he was on the hot seat before the season even started, and it just got worse and worse. And I'm actually surprised it took this long.
I am surprised. I think sometimes just franchises don't want to make changes in season, but sometimes let me just put this in perspective for you. Just kind of give you an idea. After they fired Coughlin, McAdoo was 3-15. Spags was 1-3. Shermer was 9-23. Judge was 10-23. Brian Daboll's 20-40-1. You also have to start, and I hate to say it because I know he's sick, but John Mara, like you're making the decisions, and the problem is they're just not hitting. And now you have a franchise quarterback. You've got talent. Lawrence is a good player, might not be great anymore. Thibodeau is a solid player. Carter's still a rookie. Burns is an all-pro. Flott's a good player. Jackson Dart's a franchise quarterback. Scatterboo, you can win. Neighbors, you get back. Robinson, possession guy. They got a couple good times. They have talent. So you look at the NFL and the landscape of the NFL, and you look at this head coach. I don't even know if this is a question, Lloyd, but all years covering the NFL, eventually when we sit there and say players have to play, that's one thing. But, doesn't the coach also have to coach them up? I know they make millions of dollars, but isn't the coach's job and responsibility? You protect the franchise quarterback. You don't keep having this kid get hurt, but you also coach these guys up so they're giving you competitive max effort every Sunday. And right now, they're just not a winning franchise. He coaches not to win. He coaches not to lose. And when you do that in the NFL, you're not going to win many games.
Yeah, Q. It just got unsustainable. They had that brief jump with Scatterboo coming in there, and then it was a smart decision putting Dart out there. He tried to save his job. Let's face it. And the kid gave him the spark, but the adjustments and the coaching, as you're just alluding to, were not there. He played well in stints, but some of the play calling, like, what are you doing? And putting him in these situations and throwing the ball when he didn't need to. Obviously, you'd like to have Neighbors. He got injured, and some people point to that, but they're going to grow from here. Q. They had to tear it down, and unfortunately, this is be the 6th head coach since 2016 for this organization. You talk about one of the cornerstone proud franchises of the National Football League. I mean, I looked at the history of the league, and the Giants have always been there, since the beginning of the
Not
league.
anymore.
And it's ugly, and they had to clean it up. And Mara, unfortunately, he made this mess. He gave these extensions. He gave the extension to Daniel Jones after that magical Daboll first season. Yep. And it just has not worked. And I was surprised coming out of training camp. We talked about this, like, what are they doing? They just have a plan. Now they have Kafka there, a guy who I've been around since when the Eagles drafted him. I used to watch him practice. He's a smart guy, but I don't think he's the guy to lead them into the future. They have to find somebody that can teach. And that's still a big part of being a head coach in the National Football League.
Yeah, and you also have to find a head coach that understands the strengths and weaknesses of a franchise quarterback. Like, for as great as this kid is and as tough as the kid is, Caleb Williams last year, they were telling him, you can't take these hits. Now he's learned to slide. That's coaching. You fire Eberflus, you bring in Johnson. Jackson Dart, I think this kid's a player. I mean, I love the kid. I wanted them to draft a kid. They drafted the kid. I wanted the kid to start sooner rather than later. He did. The kid plays. He makes friggin' plays, and he's got the it factor. But again, you're going to see moments where he's going to take the hits and then he fumbles the ball and then, change of possession and, turns the tide of the game around. And you got to protect your franchise quarterback. There's no way that even if Daboll didn't get fired, you're going into Sunday's game with Russell Wilson, who can't play anymore. You got to start Jameis Winston, but it's a conversation for another day. The point is, you have to bring in someone that I believe there are certain quarterbacks in the NFL. It does not matter who the head coach is; they can thrive under any head coach.
Yeah, and he's a good young player. I mean, we watched him mature, transferring to Old Miss, and this season he's made good plays. He's made had learning situations. Q, as you're talking about, but he's a rookie, and I think if they bring in the right guy with the right system, this can work. But they have some of the pieces. We talked about neighbors, talked about Stadabu. They got to fix the offensive line. Obviously, that's always been a problem for this organization for like the last 6 to 7 years. But they do have some building block pieces there, and we'll see how the season goes rest away. But yeah, they're in rebuild mode, and we'll see if Shane is there to be at the draft to kind of guide this situation.
So a couple things we talked about on Friday, and then when we dropped BYP talking about some of these games, New England goes on the road. They beat Tampa Bay. You got the shaky game from Daniel Jones, but Taylor bails them out. You got Buffalo no showing against Miami. Seattle with a big win. The Lions putting up points. The Rams. I mean, those 4 o'clock games were not even competitive. I kind of want to backtrack a little bit. You watched that game, and I just didn't see it, but we saw a couple of the mistakes that Jones made, but Taylor bails them out. He ran for 244. I mean, he's making it really interesting now with the voters when it comes to NFL MVP. Now, here's a team that's 8-2. They already hit their win total. The Colts did. They're trying to run away with that AFC South. They got back on track after a bad loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I think we kind of learned as he goes, they go.
Yeah, it's so true, Q. The guy that's the engine of this team is the running back. I mean, Taylor's been incredible. I mean, just dominant. He ran the ball 32 times in the game, and they went back to him early and often. You knew once they got to overtime and they had their chance to close it, he was going to be the guy to do it for him. Daniel Jones has kind of reverted, Q. 5 turnovers against the Steelers. This week, he started fumbling the football again. And when he's under pressure, he's going to make some mistakes. So, it's something where Steichen's going to have to figure out how to limit his exposure. And it's crazy, you're talking about the potential number one seed and you're trying to hide your quarterback. So, a lot of weapons around him, but they have to lean on those guys first and foremost.
Plus, the offensive line did a horrible job with pass protection. They did. He was sacked 7 times. By the way, updated MVP. Drake May Stafford, now the co-favorites at plus 300. Taylor's up to third. Josh Allen has gone from the favorite to fifth. That's what happens when you have a stinker on the road against a bad team. But how about Drake May? How about my New England Patriots going on the road, beating Tampa Bay? I mean, this kid is a flat out player. But here's the perfect example, again, of culture, having the head coach, franchise quarterback, believing in each other, buying into it, and then building around. And that's exactly what Tampa Bay's doing.
They did. They solidified themselves as the leaders, AFC East. And Q, it's crazy because the Bills are probably going to come in as a wild card because that's how well the Patriots are playing as a team. You had Henderson come in there. Those 2 long touchdown runs just closed the game out, 55 and 69 yards. The kid was spectacular. And defensively, guys like Milton Williams and Robert Spillane, they've come in and they've embraced the Vrabel philosophy. So, yeah, the Patriots are a very good team. That was a prove-it type game. We talked about them going in there as an underdog, and they went in there and took care of business. The Bucs were scrappy, but the Patriots, you got to start believing in them.
Listen, I think they're a legit threat. I think Seattle and the Rams are a legit threat out of the NFC. Darnold didn't have a big game, but they got to the quarterback. I know they're inconsistent at times running the football. They cause a lot of turnovers. Hell, smoke and mirrors 258. And then you got the Rams yesterday that just basically they took the 49ers out to the woodshed. I thought the 49ers are going to be much more competitive in this game. It was 21 to nothing. You blink. Um, more impressive performance, the Rams against the 49ers or Seattle or Detroit. Those 4 o'clock games were snooze fest, or Detroit against Washington.
Yeah, they they were all great performances, Q. And two of them ended 44-22, and out of those teams, I'll go with the Rams. The Rams are hitting on all cylinders right now. Q. They had no penalties in the game, no turnovers. They did not miss any kicks. I mean, they played extremely well, and you got to watch out for them now. And Stafford, as long as he has that clean pocket, he can distribute the football to Nakua and Devontae Adams, and they're playing extremely well. And defensively, they have a bunch of young guys, so that was very impressive. Seattle, great game for them. They started fast. They closed this thing out. I mean, if it was a fight, they would have stopped it first round KO. Q. That's how dominant they were, and they kind of coasted in at the end. And they had those 2 defensive touchdowns by Marcus Lawrence. Good win for them. And the Lions, that was a prove it game. They come outside the dome, bad weather, and Gibbs showed that he's a dominant player. So yeah, all 3 of them impressive. But looking forward to that game next week, where it's going to be Seattle and the Rams.
Buffalo. I mean, is that just stubbing their toe, or do you believe there's some serious issues going on now with the Buffalo Bills?
You have to say that they're not prepared for situations. Q. They didn't show up in Atlanta, and this reminded me similar. They're on the road, a chance to kind of right the ship, and they didn't look right. They didn't look like they were mentally focused for that game. And the Dolphins, to their credit, took it to them. Everybody thought, the Dolphins fire their general manager. They're not going to show up in this game. Well, Tua threw 2 touchdowns, and a chain was just incredible. 225 total yards. He was just running through their defense. And yeah, the Bills, a lot of people are going to say, they're very injured and have excuses all over the place, but they played terrible. And specifically, Josh Allen, their quarterback, he's got to play better. If he's the MVP, he's got to play like it.
Yeah, no, those are fair points. I'll get to a couple comments in a moment. Steelers last night and the Chargers. I mean, it was a 3-2. Pirates leading that one early on. Aaron Rodgers, um, again, sometimes quarterbacks just get old, right? I know. Look, Russell Wilson had a flashback moment, and it was short lived. Aaron Rodgers last night, you're watching that game, and then you listen to Mike Tomlin's comments. One of the reporters said, "What did you think of your quarterback's performance?" And he said, "What did you think?" Like, that's not good. I mean, that's a bad loss by the Pittsburgh Steelers last night, because offensively they just looked absolutely out of sync. I told you, and you said this. I'll give you credit on this, man. On Monday, you said Baltimore is going to win the North. Like, watch for Baltimore now. They get it together. Here we go, and they get healthy. But the Steelers, if I'm a Steelers fan right now, I got to be worried, because again, they had to bounce back win. They had to win again against the Colts. A little fluky game, and then offensively, they didn't do anything against the Chargers last night, just scoring 10 points.
Yeah, first with the Steelers, it was Aaron Rodgers is going to be 42 next month, Q, and he looked every bit of it, particularly on that safety play where Khalil Mack's chasing him. He's not getting rid of the football; he's holding on to it, and the Steelers just got stuck in the mud. I mean, 2 of 11 on third downs, and he just does not look right. He had 2 interceptions, and yeah, they got problems. And you talk about the Ravens, they're stepping up. I mean, 3 straight wins. It was kind of sloppy at certain points in this game, but they're leaning on Lamar. He's spreading it around to his receivers, and particularly his tight end. And then you have Derrick Henry, and the defense has not, 3-game winning streak. The highest they've allowed is 19 points in that 3-game winning streak.
All right, let me get to some comments chiming in. JC chimes in. Lloyd and Q always enjoy the banter. You think with Miami's win yesterday, it saves McDaniel's job? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's peculiar to me that they got rid of Chris Greer first, and I think Stephen Ross, the owner there, he likes McDaniel. I think if he could save him, he will, but I tend to think they're going to tear this thing
Well,
down.
let me
Yeah,
throw this at you real quick. You mentioned the Ravens with their record, right?
yeah.
And their run and the remaining games. Now, follow me. Miami's 3-7. They have the Saints, the Jets, the Steelers, and Cincinnati. What if they go on a little run here and he gets to 7-7, and they're on the outside looking in for one of the wild card spots, and they close the season against Tampa and New England? I mean, does that account for something?
Yeah, it could, and they kept Chubb around. They still kept some talent on this team. You have a Chan and you have Waddle. So they're going to try to help too as much as possible. And as you said, Q, that record could help him build some, you know,
Equity?
gravitas,
Yeah,
you know, with the owner. So
yeah,
we'll
yeah.
we'll see. And um, I think he likes him as that offensive mind, like he had likes having him around. But to me, yeah, they probably should make a change, but they'll probably stick with him and that to a contract. Let's not forget that
Albatross.
that is huge. And they're gonna, lean on that. They've already paid the money and they're gonna try to keep him around and he likes McDaniel. So maybe they're a team situation here.
Ravens might be 9-5 in a couple of weeks. I think they will. I mean, listen, we talked about their schedule. It's extremely favorable. Uh, Cleveland's got issues. We'll get into them in a second. Cincinnati can't stop anyone. They've got some issues, even though they're trying to get that 21-day window for Burrow. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I told you, I don't trust them at all. The Ravens are 4-5. They won three straight. They have the Browns, the Jets, Cincinnati coming up, the Steelers, and I mean, this team might go on a run where, again, hey, we're not even. I mean, which would be an incredible coaching job by Harbaugh, but also speaks to just the value of Lamar Jackson. Like Lamar Jackson, when he starts, I think he's like 70 and like 24. I mean, when Lamar goes, the Baltimore Ravens franchise goes, but that would be a hell of a job that Harbaugh's doing.
Yes, and now I get to NFC is 25-3 after this weekend. So that he feasts on these NFC teams, and you're right. It's a situation where the schedule may come together. Health is a big thing with this team. They're getting everybody back on that defense. They had Humphrey back making plays for them, and they're making plays. So offensively, Lamar Jackson back from the hamstring. The offensive line's leaning on Stanley, who's back. So yeah, they're a dangerous team, and I think when they play the Steelers, I think they could be 7-5 Q when they finally get to them. I think it's week 15 they play them, and then they also play them week 18 as well. So
Yeah,
some games to look forward to there.
I agree with you, and I agreed with the astute madman. They're going to be 9-5. Speaking of the AFC North, look, Cleveland special teams major blunders yesterday against the Jets. Right, first time in franchise history, a kickoff return, punt return, which is just absolutely crazy. The Jets back-to-back plays. Dylan Gabriel he's just not an NFL quarterback. Why are they so reluctant to allow Shador Sanders an opportunity? Like, I want to ask you your opinion, the decision making. Like, is there a battle going on between Stefanski, Barry, Stefanski, ownership group, head coach, ownership group, the GM? What the hell's going on? Because it's you want to give this fan base something, like a smidge of hope. Give them something where they want to pack up and head out and relax at the dog pound and go to a home game. They've got the Ravens, the 49ers, the Titans, the Bills, the Steelers at home left. If this kid doesn't start against the Titans December 7th, that head coach needs to be fired immediately.
Yeah, I don't. What are they waiting for, Q? As you say, Dylan Gabriel, nice story. A kid who's probably going to be a good assistant coach one day, but he's not a world beater out there. And other than Miles Garrett, what do they have to do? Watch this team. Nobody's watching any other pieces. Judy did finally get a touchdown for them, but they've got issues all over the place. They lost two straight games. They're 2-7. Why not try to give him spark with Shador Sanders? I don't know why they brought him there in the first place if they're not going to give him his chance. He's just as good as Gabriel, who they reach for in the third round, and then they go inexplicably go get Shador in the fifth round. And I have heard that there was some, infighting when they made that pick in the fifth round. They grabbed him, and some people wanted him. Some folks didn't. Others didn't, want him in the organization. So yeah, there is kind of a infighting situation there.
Yeah, Glenn's a Cincy fan, his comment is long-winded, but just to kind of paraphrase, you think there's any hope now with Burrow coming back? That's a return not till December. That's a 21-day window. 3-6. I mean, you got to just chalk it up to a lost season for Cincinnati.
Yeah, Cincinnati, they were on a bye. They're trying to get right, and yeah, the 21 day. They're going to have to win some of these games, though. Q, like be the spoiler to give him a
Yeah.
chance, But I think the way that the AFC is shaping up, as you said, uh, KC's in eighth spot at 5-4. To catch them and all the other teams above them, it's going to be very hard for the
Kind
Bengals.
of interesting that Dan Campbell took over play calling, offensive play calling, and they scored 40 something odd points. It was just, I think it came down a couple minutes ago that Dan Quinn's going to take over defensive play calls. Joe Witt, he's taken play calling away from defensive coordinator Joe Witt. Again, kind of like Cincinnati, I feel as though it's just a lost year for Washington, and you don't have your franchise quarterback out there. I mean, it's very, when guys aren't getting reps, like Russell Wilson, tough spot to come in when you're on the bench, right? Mariota's been trying his best, but he's obviously not on the level of Jaden Daniels. But this team has just given up 25, 44, 28, 30, 44. Listen, some of the guys pointed out to me prior to the season when I said Washington was going to go to the Super Bowl. They mentioned to me that defense is getting older. Yeah, they were 100% correct in that regard, but I just felt that offensively, this was a team that was going to be able to score points. And the problem is, when you've got no Daniels and now you're playing from behind, you're not going to win many games with Mariota. So it's already putting pressure on your defense. I'm not giving them a pass, but is this kind of a we need to stop the bleeding right here kind of move by Quinn?
I think this is Quinn setting up his fall guy, Q. And we see it a lot of times. Here in Philadelphia, you saw them get rid of both their coordinators a couple of years ago because the head coach was staying, but those guys are going. And I
Right.
think you'll see Witt go. And the biggest thing, Q, was I watched a lot of that game. Washington was undisciplined in this game. They were making a lot of penalties. You had Kinlaw getting in trouble. Payne got thrown out the game. He got ejected for throwing a punch. They just were mistakes over and over again, and the Lions took it to him. They weren't taking it easy on him. So
Dumb
I think,
football.
yeah, and I think he Quinn's like enough's enough, and Witt he'll keep him around, but at the end of the season he's probably gone.
Listen, we saw bad football with Cleveland, jumping off sides, right? Which is never a good thing. You got the Eagles and you got the Packers. Let me appease the Eagle brass, the Eagles fans that are chiming in. Listen, this is a tough spot for the Philadelphia Eagles. On the road, Green Bay team that plays exceptional football at home. They're coming off a bad loss to Carolina. I think they're going to be a motivated, pissed off team. I just look at Green Bay and say to myself, Jordan Love's legs make the difference here. Now, the offensive line does a good job. They kept them upright. We talked a lot about this on Back Your Play. The Philadelphia Eagles have not gotten the type of pass rush that we've seen in years past. They just haven't. What are your keys tonight for an Eagles win?
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting matchup, Q, and pressure is going to be a big thing on both sides. But for the Philadelphia Eagles, uh, their linemen have only got 6 sacks, all of them combined,
That's
and
right.
and Sweat has 7 for the Arizona Cardinals, so they do miss him. They are hoping that Phillips can come in there and get some pressure on them. Tom's a little banged up on the offensive line for the Packers. I'm not sure he's going to play or not, but getting pressure on Love is going to be huge. Don't forget last year the Eagles beat them twice, the playoff game and then the first game of the season. So they have the playbook on how to beat Love. Obviously, both teams are going to need to run the football. Jacobs getting downhill for them. I want to see him against Bond. That's going to be a big thing. The Packers without their tight end who got hurt. And then the Eagles got to get Saquon Barkley going. They have all their offensive linemen back, except for their center where Jurgens is still banged up. Toth's going to play in this game. And then the biggest key, obviously, Q, is the Philadelphia Eagles got to find a way for Parsons. And don't forget Gary as well on the other side. They got to block those two because they could turn the game very quickly. So I think the Eagles are going to win this one, but I think it's going to be a field goal type game.
Well, you mentioned Barkley. I mean, listen, uh, here's the other thing, right? You've got a team right now that's coming off a bye, and they're well rested. And you have a running back that's exploded for 150 yards, averaging about 10. Now, all of a sudden, that season average has gone up drastically, right? It was sitting at 3.2. Now it's 4.1. He's got the capability to break one off. I think they run him a lot off tackle tonight. I also think third down, when we start to talk about third down conversions, right? Can we get stops? Can we get Green Bay off the field? Can Green Bay maintain sustained drives? Um, also, for the Philadelphia Eagles, right? Can we maintain drives? Can we sustain drives here? You certainly don't want field position to get flipped all over the place. I think special teams is going to have a hand in this one. The line sits at 1.5, 2. Obviously, Green Bay is the home favorite, but I've seen the Eagles go on the road. If they tripped up, it's not the end of the world. But I see Jordan Love making some plays tonight. I really do. I think this is going to be a close game, and I see it coming down to a field goal.
Yeah, it could be. And don't forget, the Eagles want to get off to that fast start, Q. That's their MO. They get that fast start, and then they run the football and kind of beat up the clock a little bit. And then watch for that tush push. Sirianni's going to probably bring it out against the team that voted against it. And
Sure.
Jalen Hurts is going to have to play well. Obviously, that's going to be a big thing. He does not turn the football over, not a lot of interceptions. So I expect 25 or less passes for him and then them running football.
Yeah. The other thing too is that we're seeing some of these teams start to peak. The Rams, Seattle, right? Detroit. You start to hit your stride. You almost get the sense that the Eagles are um, kind of hitting their stride. And you're right. I mean, they might have 8 straight tush pushes. Who the hell knows, right? Or 4 in the goal line situation. If Green Bay starts stacking the box and Jalen Hurts is a little off, I think it's going to be a tough night for the Philadelphia Eagles, because the one thing, if you go back and you watch that game, and I think it was the last 2 or 3 games for the Green Bay Packers, that kid from Carolina was able to run all over them. So I think they're going to be honest and try to focus on the run first and foremost. Carolina ran for a buck 67. They averaged right around 4.9. I mean, now you're talking second and short, third and short. If the Eagles ground game starts going off, then it's going to be a long night for the Green Bay Packers. I think it'll be a little closer than people anticipate. I know some guys are chiming in. Not a spite pick. That's not at all. Green Bay's banged up. Eagles win easily. They might. I see Green Bay uh, staying within striking distance, but Green Bay gets blown out if they can't shut down the run early on. Then yes, and I'll say it right now. If you start to see Saquon running all over the place and it's a 10-0, 13-0 lead after 1 or 17-3 going into the half, then yeah, the Eagles are going to win this game convincingly. But I think Green Bay is going to sell out tonight and try to stop the run first and foremost.
Yeah, I know LaFleur, that loss to Carolina left a bad taste in their mouth, and he's going to have his team ready to play. The only thing is Sirianni 4-0 after a bye. So,
Yeah,
the
Andy
Eagles
Reid.
should be rested, ready to go. And as always, whoever turns the football over, they're probably going to be the ones to lose. So,
Yeah,
Love's got to protect the football. He's so inconsistent, Q. As you were saying, some weeks look spectacular. Think about that game against the Steelers where he led them back and he was just incredible. But against Carolina, he couldn't do anything right. So
no,
we'll see how it works out tonight.
no, you're right. I mean, the Steelers game, he had 3 touchdown passes. Then he spit the bit against Carolina. It's hard for me to trust the Packers team with the team that we saw in week 2 versus Washington show up, or the team that lost to Cleveland and Carolina. It's the NFL, man. We saw Miami at home blow out Buffalo in a non-competitive game, right? So, by the way, I know I did want to ask you real quick. The passing Paul Tagliabue. Here's a guy that took over, right, for Pete Rozelle, and I heard a great story. Rich Eisen was saying on his pod. Uh, Tagliabue was a big time Washington Redskins fan. And I guess when he was taken over, someone asked him, "Are you still going to have your Redskins at the time Redskins season tickets?" And Roselle's like, "You're not going to do that. You root for all the teams, but you root for the team that's losing because we want competitive games in the NFL. And I thought that he did a fantastic job looking out for the teams, the franchises, and also the players too. And I know Eisen pointed it out. And I thought it was a great little nugget when we got into the whole CTE thing. You know, he said some things later in his career, post being the commish, that I think he wanted to kind of take back. But he was real good for the NFL, and obviously he passed away yesterday morning, or I should say over the weekend.
Yeah, it was unfortunate passing, and a lot of people think of him as the league's attorney because that's what he started out as. Q,
That's
he's
right.
a legal guy, and but he did grow the game, and it's extremely difficult to follow Pete Rozelle. Rozelle was a guy that made the National Football League, had the merger,
That's right.
was there forever, and it's tough to follow him, but he did a nice job growing the game. Q, the TV contracts, they did have some union strife, but not a lot. He got a lot done in his time with the league, and yeah, unfortunate passing. Wished well for his family, and yeah, the NFL. Unfortunately, the league. They did a moment of silence, and then they're
And
like,
then
all
they
right,
go.
let's
That's
kick the ball.
that's the NFL. So, all right, brother, we know we got you. Lloyd Vance Insider Football. What are you, 7-8 tonight?
We're going to actually do Wednesday because we don't want to.
Oh,
We have a lot of Eagles fans. You know, they want to. They love my show, and they also love their team too.
I got
So,
you.
yeah, we're going to do it Wednesday night, and we'll recap Monday Night Football, and then we'll talk about the week that was and get ready for the upcoming week
That's
11. That's some good matchups in week 11.
Yeah, that's called knowing your audience, Lloyd. So good job with that. All right, I know you and I will talk later on the week, and of course, back your play as well. Always appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
All right, Q. Thanks for having me on.
All right, there you have it. My guy, Lloyd Vance. Jovan says special teams could be a factor too in this game. McManus has been inconsistent of late. I mentioned special teams. If Philadelphia Eagles start running the ball early, like Green Bay's got to sell out. You have to sell out tonight. You can't allow Saquon to go off. If Saquon goes off, then yeah, they're going to get crushed. But they are at home. Listen, Packers are at home. Now, I'm not going to sit there and say there's that mystique and allure, but it always helps when you're at home. Eagles coming off that bye. Feels like maybe they got a little bit of their offensive swag back. I think the Packers, kind of like what Buffalo did, they stubbed their toe. They stubbed their toe. That's, and you got an Eagles team that just racked up 427 yards. KC chimes in. Q, how in the world can you tell me that the offense of the Giants is that much more better and yet the defense still flat out sucks? My point is, how does Bowen still have a job? It's about the quarterbacking play, period. And that's the problem. Like, I was shocked when Jackson Dart got hit. It was pretty clear he got concussed. And to put that kid back out there, it's just a mess. It's a mess. You can't. Some teams find unique ways to lose football games. And let's just go to after the Giants beat the Eagles. They were 2-4, but you felt they were turning a corner. They absolutely just woodshed the Eagles at home, prime time, something they never do. And they're a couple minutes away from actually picking up their third win and being 3-4. Now you're feeling pretty good. And they blew the game against Denver. So the letdown, they never stood a chance against Philly. I told you the Eagles were going to railroad them. And then you come back and you try to hang around early against the 49ers, but you got outclassed. And then you're up going into the fourth against a Bears team that's not that good. They're an average team. They are what their record is, and they're building something, and then you spit the bit there. So you have 4 games that were 3 or 4 you had no business losing, not to even mention the Saints game early on with Dart and Scatterboo, and they played like a rookie, and they had all those fumbles. So you give up the long field goal against Dallas. You should have won that game. You're 1-1. You lose to the Chiefs, but you beat the Chargers. Now you're 2-2. You should have beat the Saints. You're 3-2. You beat the Eagles. You're 4-2. You beat the Denver Broncos. You're 5-2. You lose to the Eagles and the 49ers. You can live with that. You're 5-4. And then you beat the Bears. You're a 6-4 at best, 4-5, 5-4 team. And you're thinking, wait a second, we got something. And Kevin's sitting there saying Orlovsky said firing. I don't give a shit what Dan Orlovsky said. He's a quarterback. He's always going to side with the head coach. That's what he does. It's not a mistake. It's not. It's not a mistake. I don't understand. You don't even need to be the ardent of football fan. You don't even need to be a football savant to understand. You are measured by wins and losses. You cannot allow, tell me in NFL history where a team has started 2-8 for 3 straight seasons and the coach has lasted. Stop. Just stop. 11-33. And you take away the 9 wins they got prior to in one season when he was coach of the year. They've done nothing. They haven't even played competitive football. And I'm telling you, coaching can make a difference in close games. It's magnified. Coaching guys up. Yeah, you got to tackle. Yeah, you can't shank punts. Yeah, you can't muff punts. Yeah, you can't miss field goals. I understand all that, but you're talking about a head coach that was so inconsistent on not wanting to take away his young quarterback's aggressiveness. It made no sense. You're going to get this kid killed. You're going to get him killed. And if you knew you were going to get fired, at least have the balls to go for it. Come on. It's 4th down. You're on the road. Worst thing that happens, you pin the Bears. They got to go 99 yards. Your defense is keeping you in the game. You can kind of go for the knockout punch and go up 14. And what does he do? He kicks the field goal because he played it safe. You had a coach that came in like a bat out of hell, beat red. You loved him when he had a few pounds on him. Go for 2 against Tennessee on the road. Here you go, Daniel Jones. Here you go, Saquon. Go on the road and beat Minnesota in the playoffs. You feel good. Worst thing happened in the franchise. Because then all of a sudden they started to entrust his coach, and they gave that quarterback 4 years, $160. Oh, by the way, that was also the current GM, who still has a job, mind you. So please, it wasn't a mistake. Just stop, 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 stop. Just stop. Just stop. I don't want to hear it anymore. Sometimes you got to make the change. Nobody likes it, right? Q, how about Spags, Chiefs defensive coordinator, Super Bowl winning DC? He didn't work out as a head coach, man. He just didn't. I'm a big Spags fan, but it's hard that you want to bring in a guy that's proven and has experience, right? But also you want to avoid the retread. Yes, we talk about the Belichicks, the Grudens, whatever, the McCarthys. I mean, Kiffin's name was floated out there as well. I don't know. I have absolutely, there's not a lot of, Andy Reid's out there, Campbell's out there. There's not a lot of Tomlin, Shanahan's, Harbaugh's out there. They're just not. You want to make this a sexy destination, an appealing destination for a head coach. And I think your pitch is that you've got a nice little offensive trio. You got young tight ends. The offensive line starting to come into form a little bit. Yeah, you got to clean it up. Okay. But you've got some playmakers. Matty G chimes in. Q, did you see that MLB and sports books impose 200 limit on pitch level bets? Yeah, I'm going to talk a little more about that later in the week. I will definitely get into that because of all these players getting pinched and then the players obviously getting arrested and the pitchers and whatnot. But we'll talk about that later in the week. So you got the Eagles and you got the Packers tonight. Philly laying 1.5. I misspoke. Pardon me. Philly laying 1.5. Havli and Green Bay would be interesting for the Giants. We're going to see so many names out there, a ton. Would the NFL have a say if the Giants tried to hire Gruden? No. I don't think the Giants would, to be quite honest with you. And quite frankly, you're going to connect the dots. Everyone's going to connect the dots, right? Gruden linked, right? Because of the thing, the video on Barstool with Jackson Dart. You're going to have Lane Kiffin's name. Obviously, the ties. You're going to have Belichick's Obviously, because of the ties, you're going to have a bunch of names, but I don't know if the I don't know if the Giants want to go the Gruden route. I'm not. By the way, I'm not the biggest Gruden fan. Um, I'm just not. It's shocking how bad they've been at selecting a head coach after they fired Tom Coughlin. Daboll's 336 winning percentage was better than his two predecessors, Pat Shermer and Joe Judge. That's not saying much. Lane Kiffin, I know Jackson's Dart, father came out. Lane Kiffin is probably going to be the connection there. And I'll tell you something else. You know, um, Jesse Minter is a name that I brought up last year when we talked about the Chargers coaching staff, defensive coordinator. That's the name to watch. Jesse Minter. You got Cliff Kingsbury. Obviously, Gruden, Jason Garrett. I will just shit. You know what? Mike McCarthy. Not. I wouldn't go nuts over it. At least you're going to get your 10 wins. But I would. Minter's not. Minter to me is not a bad name, man. And I'm going to tell you why. He's a young kid. He's 41. He's 42. He's smart. Okay, he's smart. Um, he's cutting his teeth the right way. Right. He was in college. Then he was with Baltimore. Then he was back with Vanderbilt. Obviously, he was defensive coordinator with Michigan. That's one of the reasons Harbaugh brought him on. Harbaugh was a big proponent, a big, advocate for him. They need to fix the defense, and you want a defensive-minded coach. I think you can bring in anybody coach-wise, and Jackson Dart will thrive. And if you want to go out and get that OC, you go out and you get that hot commodity OC. Minter, I would be okay with. Gruden, I don't know. I think you're kind of dancing around the well, man. That's the way I look at it. So you got the Packers and you got the Eagles. As I mentioned, we went through all these 1:00 games. Colts getting the win. A lot of overs yesterday. Colts getting a win over. Bears, Giants over. Bills, Dolphins over. Ravens, Vikings. I believe that hit the over. Jets, Cleveland over. Pats, Bucks. I think it was a touch under. Jacksonville. Probably, I didn't even ask Lloyd. Probably one of the worst losses of the weekend was Jacksonville. And it's funny, too, on a Monday, hey, new phone, who this? AKA Vince, AKA Heisman. He hate me. He's nowhere to be found. I think he needs to just come out and say Trevor Lawrence stinks. I feel like Vince, if he comes out and he admits Trevor Lawrence stinks, I feel as though it'll be a weight that's lifted right off his shoulders. Trevor Lawrence, 13 of 23, one pick, one touchdown. He was sacked 5 times. And you had Mills light up that secondary, and they ran for $130 yesterday. Jacksonville stinks. They absolutely stink. Poor Vince. Maybe he had some shekels on the game. I don't know. He could have. I didn't touch those games yesterday. Giants will overpay Patullo after we repeat as Super Bowl champs. Yeah. Okay. I mean, you got your one asinine comment at 5:51. I mean, are we done now? Should I mark the tape? Did you see the POTUS calling Debo's touchdown? I don't even know if you guys can hear it. I don't even think I can pull it up. That's pretty funny. All right, so you got your games. You got your Monday Night Football. I don't know. You guys going to be able to see that game tonight? Right? You're still dealing with the YouTube and the ESPN and all that other nonsense. I'm just checking the wire here. Garrett Wilson's going to miss 3 to 4 weeks for the Jets. Not good. It's not like they were going anywhere. All right, so tomorrow, busy show. Recap tonight. We'll get into some of that baseball. I want to get into that betting scandal too with baseball. Start to dive into the NBA a touch. And a lot of injuries too. A lot of concussions going on in the NFL. Guys are just dropping like absolute flies of late. Another injury. I think Slay was in concussion protocol, right? You got Jackson Dart. You had a bunch of guys going down in that Washington game, right? couple guys in that Miami game. So injuries have been very prevalent. Is definitely a war of attrition. Nikki Snacks, G-Man finds chimes in. Q, got to fire the GM first. I'll be rooting against the Browns every game here on out. My number one choice to be our next head coach is Kevin Stefanski. Promote Tierney to OC to keep continuity for Dart. Bring in the psycho Jim Schwartz to be the defensive coordinator. That's his staff. Schwartz, you know what? That's not a bad call for defensive coordinator. I don't want Kevin Stefanski. Not doing it. I love you, Nikki, but I'm not doing it, bro. I'm not doing it. Oh, that's funny. Bring in the psychopath. Yeah, I'm not doing that. All right, got to start wrapping up. Good stuff. Appreciate Lloyd Vance. Don't forget, as always, we're powered by our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee, Three Brooks Bourbon, Jersey Shore Breaks. Get ready with tea. And, of course, Play It Again Sports, 2 locations, Mount Laurel and Deptford. Get social with me, as always, on X, on YouTube, at Rich Q on Q, on IG, at Rich Q on Q, and TikTok, Rich Q and Mike. Monday Night Football, we'll recap that. We'll start to dive into a little more college later in the week. See if we can catch up with our guy, Costco. NBA, we will certainly get into that. Good night on the NBA. Not a light night. Good night on the NBA. And you're already starting to see early on, right? You know, you got a young Piston squad playing really well. OKC looking like a defending champ, 10-1. Sixers, give them a little credit, 6-4. I'll give the Sixers a little credit. Knicks are 6-3. Cavaliers 7-3. So we got a lot of NBA to dive into later on the week with Jonathan Marshall. All right, you guys have a wonderful Sports Monday. As always, don't forget a Lunas Manolo Local Day Radio Mendioso Man Up Monday edition of On Q, powered by good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. 20% off your first purchase, BYP20. Enjoy Monday Night Football if you get it and it's available to you. Back in the saddle, mañana. You guys have a good Sports Monday. As always, be safe, be sound. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of On Q. I'm Rich Quinones. Hasta luego, buen día.